Your quickest way to get fired from the Meridian Police Department is to be an asshole. That's your quickest way out the door with us. Treat your peers poorly. Go out and treat people in the public poorly, and you can't learn from it. We will help you find a new job somewhere else where that is more acceptable, but you won't work here.
Oh, I love that. And it kind of comes down to like something that I always tell some of these business owners that we consult on their marketing and stuff. Is I say, look, all employee issues come down to one of two categories: skill or effort.
Yeah.
And, the asshole thing would be in the effort category, in my opinion, right? And it's like when you're evaluating somebody, like, should they stay or should they go, right? Or should I hire this person or should I not hire this person? Hiring and firing, it's like I like to evaluate and just go down the checklist. Are they putting in the effort and they just don't have the skills? Then I'll be a softie, to be honest. And I'll keep somebody longer than they probably should, because it's like they're showing up on time. They're not leaving early. They're reliable. They're good for the culture. They're positive. They want to be a team player. They just don't have that skill yet. Well, we can train skills. But the second somebody, is the most skilled person in the world and they have a terrible attitude and it infects the rest of us, nobody wants to go to work anymore. Yep. So that person needs to go.
The only two things that I can't control in you is your attitude and your effort. When my son left to go play football in college, I was like, that's the only... You can go be the guy that sits around and gripes and nothing's going to change. I go, or you can be the guy that shows up every day, happy as can be, and is putting out the effort that you can put out, as much effort as you can, and people will recognize it, and people will notice you. But every day when I wake up, I'm like, when I go to work, I don't go, oh man, I got to go. I'm like, my attitude is I get to go to work.
I get to go to work.
How are we going to make a difference today? My friend used to say that all the time. He was a great guy. He passed away recently in a car accident.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But he would say, you would call him, and the last thing he would say before he'd hang up with you is, make a difference today. If you left, when his voicemail came on, he'd be like, hey, this is Rocco. I'm not in, blah, 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 blah. Before you were leaving your message, it would say, remember, make a difference today.
Make a difference.
And the guy made a difference in so many kids' lives in this valley. And he was a construction guy. But he was involved in so many youth sports and just so many kids. I told my wife, I'm not sure I remember going to their house when somebody else's kid wasn't there.
Wow.
There was always somebody else's kid at their house, right? And he just made such a difference in kids' lives. And my son's included, gave him his first job in construction. But those things, right? Your effort and your attitude changes everything. My son, when he got his construction job, I said, hey, Antonio, I go, remember this. I go, your last name's Basterrechea. You're Basque. We have a really good reputation for being hard workers in this state. That being Basque opens a lot of doors for you in the state of Idaho. So when you go to work today, you remember that when you're putting in that effort. And he looks at me, he's like, thanks a lot, Ita, no pressure. And I'm like, I'm just telling you.
You represent, right? You
represent our family and you represent Basque people. So you go put in the effort and you show them that you belong there working for Rocco. And that is one of those things that so true that my dad just drove into us, right?
It's generational.
Your name and you're Basque and you better work like you're Basque. Go out there and give that effort. And we laughed because I was working construction and this guy, the superintendent said, hey man, that guy works pretty hard. And he goes, oh, well, he's this Basque. I go, oh, that explains it. And then totally blew it off, right? It was like, well, if he was something else, that'd be a big deal. But he's like, oh, that's expected. No big deal.
Of course, that would be that way.
And that's what I expect out of my son, right?
But what a legacy, what a reputation to have. You're going to have a reputation. You might as well instill a reputation in your own children to say, hey, this is who we are. And it's a good quality to have.
And be happy.
Yeah.
Be grateful. Man, I wake up in the morning, go through my gratitude list. What am I grateful for this morning?
Oh, I love that.
That's first thing.
Do you write it down or do you just think about it?
I just go through it. What am I grateful for today? I'm like, okay. Then it changes your perspective when you get up and you go to work, right? You're ready to go to work because there's all those, and there's something we could be grateful for every single day.
Every day. Even the worst of days.
Yeah. Even the worst of days.
You can make a good day.
Yeah. Because you know what? They're putting an obstacle in front of me and there's the thing I need to be grateful for. There's that obstacle that I've got to figure out either how to go over, through, or around. How am I going to respond to it? Not how am I going to react to it? How am I going to respond to it?
Respond. Well, it's interesting. Like I love your grit, and also you have a positive grit. There's a bunch of guys out there on the internet that are like, they have the grit aspect, but it's so negative. It's like, you get up because you don't want to be a POS and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, let's just take the testosterone down about 100 notches for a second. I love that you have that. It's a positive grit. And you think that comes from, like you said, your upbringing as being Basque and your dad? Like, is that where some of that comes from?
I think it comes from really the community I grew up in.
Yeah.
Because there were so many people that just wrapped their arms around you, right? They wanted to see you be successful. I think it's one of the great things about small towns.
Yeah.
People want to see small town kids be successful.
Yeah.
And they celebrate your successes maybe more than you do. And that's a neat thing. Yeah. And you want to know one of the traits I hate, the worst trait a leader can have? Somebody that's not willing to celebrate other people's successes. Right? The person, when he sees somebody else being successful and they go, yeah, but did you know this about them? How about, man, great job. You did a phenomenal job. I'm glad to see that you're being successful.
Why do you think people do that?
Insecurity.
Why do you think people
Insecurity. I think they're measuring themselves against somebody else instead of measuring themselves against who they should be measuring against. Are you becoming a better person today? I shouldn't be having to compare myself to someone else. I tell it to our jiu-jitsu guys. Like, don't worry about how good this dude is. Are you getting better? Or are you better this week than you were last week? That's what you should be worried about. Those small little steps. Guess what? You got submitted 10 times last week. You only got submitted 7 this week. That's progress. Great job.